Yo, what up guys, beside me here. This is the champion guide or champion spotlight, depends on how you look at it, for an epic champion from the Skinwalkers faction called Akemtum. His Void affinity. I've not had a chance to obtain this champion for a long time because Void epics are kind of hard to obtain, especially if you don't pull a lot of Void shards. So I finally obtained this champion despite the fact that at the end game I don't really need him for any content except maybe some stages in Synchronos, right? So but in this video I want to take a closer look at this kit and test out where you can use him in the early game, mid game, or maybe in the end game if you're still struggling with content and you rely on epics like this to help you with what he brings to raid. The number one thing I think this champion brings to your account is a crazy amount of hex. AoE hex, we normally see it on legendary champion like the one we get for free from the Hydra, Mitrala Life Bane, right? That's our first introduction to hex if you're unlucky from not pulling them from shards. But he comes in with a skill that if the enemies are not under hex debuff, is a 60% chance. So it's not really a 100% chance to land the hex, but when you book it up to a 75% chance of landing the hex. With the help of masteries, it can even be boosted up to a 80% chance of landing hex on your enemies if they don't have any hex. Now if they do have hex on them, each hit has a 60% chance of increasing the duration of any hex debuff on the enemy by 1 turn. So once this champion places hex on the enemies, remember this skill goes on a 3-turn cooldown. Whenever it comes around to this skill, he will always increase the duration of the hex. The hex is for 2 turns, but when he hits them 3 times, you'll see him placing hex on one champion for 4 turns, placing hex on one champion for 3 turns. You rarely see him placing hex for 2 turns if he's unlucky enough not to place it with a 20% chance not to land. So that's the main thing I feel like this champion is bringing to your teams. Hex is kind of a debuff that you will use in content like high-end spider, or especially in Hydra. Also Hydra is one content where we use a lot of hex. Some players also rely on hex for wave clear, because when you nuke the waves, you know, they share the damage and all that, all the mechanic that hex comes with. So but the Hydra is where I feel like this hex is most useful, but unfortunately poison is not that useful in the Hydra, except to take a look at his passive where it can be beneficial a little bit. So you might decide to use this champion either as a poisoner or as a hex champion. He brings 2 things for you. Maybe there's a content where you use both of those 2 debuffs and you take full advantage of them. Now on the A1 right here, that's the poison 3-hitter, which is also useful for Fire Knight content, where you can also place the poisons and have somebody else exploding or activating those poisons, because you don't want the Fire Knight boss to take a turn and activate his own poisons, right? Alright, each hit has a 40% chance of placing 5% poison. So you're expecting 3 poisons, but most likely you see 1, 2, because it's a 50% chance when you spend book on this skill, right? It's not like it's going to be an 80% chance of landing poison on an A1. It's a 3-hitter poison, so they didn't want to make it, you know, guaranteed to land the poison. If the target is under hex debuff, each hit also has a 40% chance of applying debuff spread. So it's just not landing 1 poison on 1 enemy for wave content. At least he's gonna, if they are under hex, if you start the battle with your A2 before you go in with the A1, which is most likely gonna happen, he will go ahead and spread. How many debuffs will he spread? Taking 1 random debuff from the target and placing it on all enemies. So you're poisoning 1 enemy, but the others might also get the poison or get the hex if you skip them on the first time with 20% chance of not landing the hex. So this champion is a good poisoner and a good hex champion because of this debuff spread that can spread it to all other heads that did not even have the poisons or the hex in the first place. So if they're under hex, you can spread 1 random debuff to all other enemies in the team. So this is a very useful A1. This is not the A1 you normally see on an epic champion. So because it's void affinity, they had to make him special. So that's what 2 things that Akemtum brings to the team. Now if you're gonna run this champion in wave content where you have multiple enemies, he will or he can use this passive to activate the poisons on 1 enemy and have that same poison activating on somebody else or their own poison activating. So that's a 80% chance booked up to a 100% chance of inflicting damage from 1 poison debuff to enemies under hex. So whenever their allies receive damage from poison, so somebody is taking damage from poison because it's their turn, they're taking the turn, right? But somebody else who doesn't have their turn meter full right now will also take a poison damage that is on them. So we'll see how that works in battle and test it out in wave content. Now if you're against clan boss, that's another content where we use a lot of poison in the early game. At least I don't know if this one will not work on the clan boss. I wish this could work on the clan boss, but it's not gonna work. You will have to rely on only your poison from your A1 to just tick on their own. He doesn't activate the poisons on his own when it's just faced against one boss. If it's against multiple enemies, that's when activating poison on one person, or if they're taking a turn, he now activates on somebody else who also has poison. So that's something to note. This champion's character design does look like a poisoner. Check out his poison fangs right here that he can use to land the poisons on the A1 with the triple hitter. It should be a 4 hitter since it's 4 fangs, right? Well, 5. Anyways, that's Akemtum right here. Good character design, good poisoner, good hex champion, and good debuff spread. 2 debuff. He's not just gonna spread poisons and hex. If the enemies have any other debuff, whether it's decrease attack, decrease defense, he can also spread those debuffs, right? Whenever, let me see, inflict poison damage. Where is the debuff spread effect? Where is it? It's the A1 debuff spread. It's not just gonna spread only poisons, it will spread any other debuffs. And normally your enemies will have not just poison and hex, but also decrease defense, weaken, maybe decrease attack. He will also be able to spread those debuffs. Just one though, it's not crazy 2-3 debuff spread like some legendaries have it. This champion does have increased ally speed in all battles by 18%, so you have the opportunity to use him in the leader slot in most of your content, in anywhere, whether it's arena. Never gonna be seeing this champion being used in your arena, but if he's you're new to raid and you're just getting a speed aura like this 18%, it's a good one to use if you don't have a higher speed aura of 19% in arena, or even 30% speed aura in arena. For other content dungeons, this speed aura will work just fine. For clan boss, this speed aura will also work in the leader slot if you're not relying on defensive speed aura, which is also an amazing way to go with clan boss when you don't want to rely on speed and you want to rely on sustaining and surviving instead. So that's Akemtum. I just wanted to check out this champion skills and test him out in 1 or 2 content. Now, since we now know that this is a poisoner and this is a hex champion, there are 2 contents where I'm going to be testing it, or maybe just 1, because he works the same way, and that's going to be dungeon content. Like I said, since poison works well in dragon, poison works well in ice golem, that's the only 2 dungeon content where we use a lot of poisons, and I'm not going to be testing any other high-end content. You can also test him out in clan boss if you want to, but most players will rely on a more consistent poison A1 than this one that is on a very low chance of landing a poison. Let me say how many chance again. 50% chance of landing a poison on an A1. It's a triple hitter though. So let me know in the comments, do you think his poison is as reliable as a frozen banshee? I don't mean to compare him to a frozen banshee which is conditional, but it's a 50% chance. With the help of masteries, you can boost this chance of landing poison, I guess, up to a 55% chance. So that's something to consider, but still not as good as other A1 poisoners who will normally use in the clan boss, if you ask me. But definitely I'll test him out in dragon to see whether he works in that content. But if you use this champion in the clan boss and it's been helping you landing more poisons like a crazy person, let me know so I know whether it's actually useful in that content. I don't have clan boss skills to test it in this video, but I put together this beginner friendly clan boss team to test out this champion's skill. No other player right here in the team is a damage dealer except him, so let's see whether he can clear the waves. I'm not going to try dragon 20. Let's go up to a more difficult stage because I have endgame gear, I guess. Let's try out dragon 25 with this team. So he's gonna be the speed lead. I'm relying on decreased attack and decreased defense from stagnites, some cleansers, some healers, some block, debuff buff, but he's the one I'm relying on for the entire duration of the battle, for both clearing the wave 1, wave 2, and then even taking down the boss. He's the only MVP I want to see in this battle. So let's run it. No super rates on, slow motion, manual, well, not manual, but I want to see his skills, which one he prioritizes. 1x speed. Of course, he's not as fast. I'll show you his skill. I'll talk about his masteries. I'll talk about his best artifacts, sets that you can put on him after this run. Right? Don't need stagnate doing stun, but okay. because I recently built my Stagnite for. So he's starting the battle with the Hex, and this is what I'm talking about. There are 5 enemies right here. 4 of the enemies have Hex that is landing or gonna last for more than 3 turns. So one of them has 3 turns Hex, this one has 2 turn Hex. The others, this and this, have their Hex for 4 turns. Having Hex on the enemies for Hydra, especially for 4 turns, is huge. Not even Mikola can achieve this type of feat, because you know when you have a Hex out there in the Hydra, you're doing more damage, and you can also target that head that doesn't want to be targeted when they are not having Hex. So that's one content where I feel like this champion will shine the most. Do I have the patience to try him out in that content? I don't know. But definitely, if you don't yet have your Mitrala, or you have the Hydra team 1, team 2, team 3, if you have your Mitrala in one of those, one of your teams, he could be one of your Hex champions that comes into another team, and also help you with some debuff spreading also, if you're not using the poison in Hydra. If you don't like the A1 poisons for Hydra, Hex alone and that debuff spread is a good reason to use this champion in Hydra for sure. So that's what I'm thinking about this Hex that is landing for 4 entire turns. Why Mitrala's Hex is for 2 turns, right? And then it falls off, and then we have to wait for it to come back up again. So that's something to take note of. This Hex is huge. Let's see him use his other skills like the A1 next, because he's gonna be the main source of damage right here. He also was built in crit damage, so I'm not expecting any crazy nukes, but at least respectable nukes. I did not build this champion in pure damage set. This is a poison and a Hex champion, so I didn't want to give him crazy savage, lethal, merciless. No, I just built him in normal and wave clear set like perception, maybe relentless if you want to. Let's see the A1. 15k, 16k, not crazy damage, not doing 200k nukes on an A1 or anything crazy like that. So let me put it on 2x speed. Let's see. So he does have only 2 skills. One of them is the Hex, the other one is the A1. So if he's not doing the A2, he's doing the A1. This is a very simple champion. Normally you see this type of skill on a rare champion or an uncommon, where they have 1 skill, 2 skill, and then a passive or no passive at all. This was a very simple champion. That means he won't require a lot of books. Well, still up to 8 books maybe. 20k hits right there. So now he's done the A1 again. Will he do the A2? He did it again. 12k, 15k hits right there too. So the animations on that A2 hit also looks pretty cool. Looks like he's slashing them right from far with his claws. Using the A1 again. And I guess the A2 is now available. Hopefully it saves it for the next wave. Please, Akemtum, don't use it again. You have just 1 enemy. He has wasted it. So check out this enemy standing right there. Had 6 ton Hex. Before that enemy died, the last one died. His Hex was for 6 whole turns. That means your Hex in battle will never fall off if Akemtum is in this same team. I wish he could also increase duration of other debuffs on the enemies, not just Hex. But hey, you can't always have everything, right? So definitely this is the one to look out for if you are looking for a Hex champion on a budget. You don't want to rely on the legendary versions to give you Hex. And there you go, Hex for 3 turn, 3 turn, 2 turn, 4 turn. So Hex is not falling off this entire battle, and you eventually do more damage. And let's see what it brings to the boss also. I didn't want to try him in hard content because hard mode content will not give us the opportunity to showcase what this champion can do for you. And I will have to rely on some other supporting damage dealer. I wanted him to be the only source of damage in this team. And yeah, I know it's not a very fast run. He's not placing 4 or 5 poisons. I've not even seen how many poisons he's placing so far on those A1s. I've just been looking at the Hex so far. Let's see the A1s now. That's 3 whole poisons on that enemy. So 55% chance of landing poisons. Still looks like it's working just fine, because there is no other person in this team placing poison than just him. I think he just spread poisons to this champion too. I didn't take a look at the poison, the debuff spread. Alright, Akemtum A2 / no, that's poison. 2 poisons right here. So if he has only the A2 and A1 to do, that means he will be landing a lot of poisons. More poisons than usual. Now imagine this champion in a relentless set. The boss has not taken a turn. He has already landed up to 4 poisons on this boss. He's gonna do the A2 now. X, I don't know if we need it for this content, but okay. More poisons on the A1. That's almost a full poison bar right there on this dragon boss. As the only source of poison in this team, it will also work similar way in the Fire Knight, where you need poison to do damage to the side arts and also the boss, without dealing too much damage though, so you don't get retaliated upon. I'm seeing how many poisons he's getting up there now. Hex is still available for 4 turns, 2 poisons, A1 again. So this time he only had 1 poisons in there. He tried to do a debuff spread, but you were just seeing 1 enemy, so you won't see the real effect of that debuff spread when you have only 1 boss standing in front of you. That's why I say that debuff spread will not work so well in the clan boss. They have A2 now. Some players might even say, once you use the A2 for a while, turn it off. You don't even need it again, just focus on the A1. Depends on the content though. There are some content where you really don't need the hex. You can turn off the A2 and let this champion use only A1s, A1s, A1s. Maybe some players might say even content like the clan boss, Demon Lord clan boss, right? Forget about the A2 and only focus on the A1, so he can fill the clan boss with a ton of poisons and just go crazy right there with damage and poisons, because yes, this champion can be built in damage sets also and do crazy damage against bosses. So that's my Akemtum test battle in Dragon 25 right here. Like I said, I wasn't going for a speed run. I just wanted to see what he could do for wave clear, wave 2 clear, and then the boss. You saw it right here. Nobody else did damage but him. Now if you wanted to make this run faster, obviously you bring in other supporting damage dealers, not just support all through. You bring in a second damage dealer maybe to nuke faster, or maybe reset some skills and get around to content faster. So like I said, I couldn't try clan boss right now. I would love to, but I don't have a key. So that's one content where I feel like this champion will definitely shine. But I'll tell you what, any position you normally would put a frozen banshee, you know where you normally put a frozen banshee? That's where this champion belongs. So if you're thinking, should I build a frozen banshee, should I build an Akemtum, I'll tell you, go ahead and build an Akemtum instead, just for that A1 poisons, if not even for the A2 hex, just for the poisons alone. He will place more poisons than a banshee who relies on some condition to land her own poisons, right? So I feel like he will be a better substitute for your frozen banshee teams than her. And he can also be used in other content like Sintranos, not just in only one content like Demon Lord or Dragon. So for early game players at least. Now for end game players, I don't see you using this champion at all when you're already beating Ultra Nightmares. So he will fall off eventually in your teams by the time you get those Manita, Batita teams or Demeter unkillable teams that won't really take advantage of this. Once you even get a Geomancer, most players will take out their Poisoner and replace with a Geomancer instead to do more damage through the bonds and passives. So depends if you're early game or end game. Let me know in the comments where you currently use this champion. I really love to know. As you can see, I've never really needed him for anything. I just wanted to take a closer look at him for this video and test him out in 1 or 2 content, but I can't test out clan boss right now. But like I said, Hydra will be an amazing place for him. Should I even try Hydra at the end of this video? Maybe I will. So see whether he can land poison and hex forever, so hex never falls off, except the Hydra heads cleanses the hex for some reason. But let me see what this champion was built with, then I'll try out one battle in the Hydra towards the end of this video. So that's Akemtum. And what sets would I recommend you build this champion with? A champion who needs accuracy, especially in the early game, will be built usually in Perception. So Perception is the most recommended artifact set for anybody building Akemtum, because you want him to go fast and you want him to have enough accuracy to place his A1 poisons, especially, and the hex on the A2. So that's one set that you can never go wrong with on any debuff placing champion. Now, you want to rely on stats over sets. So if perception does not give you enough accuracy for some weird reason, you have to rely on accuracy sets, rely on other sets that have the accuracy chest or something to get your accuracy stats, depending on whether you're doing Dragon 20, Dragon 25 hard content, or even Nightmare or Ultra Nightmare content. Check out the stats requirements, the accuracy requirement you need, and the speed requirements. I built mine crazy fast, like 250 or something. That is not required for clan boss, obviously. So you gotta see which stats you're looking for. So that's the first recommended artifact sets. So that's why you see me going one set of perception at least. Now you could also go crazy and put this champion like this in a crazy relentless set if you have other champions that are able to keep him alive. So relentless makes champions use their skills more often than usual. So his A1s, he'll be taking extra turns basically. So that's also an option, but I prefer to save my relentless for other champions who needed that, not relentless. It did look like it though. So I prefer to save this for other champions who need it. This is not the best champion for the use of this artifact set. I'm just saying it's a viable option. Now, if you don't want to go all accuracy, you want to mix in some damage with this champion stats, you can also go with the early game damage stats. That's why I went with this crit damage, one piece of crit damage set right here to give me that crit damage requirement. You're not just building 100% crit rate. Yes, even if you're not building this champion in damage sets, even if you're doing 3 perception set, always remember you do need some crit rate, at least 100% on champions like this. Even if they don't rely on it for healing, somebody else is healing them. Crit 100% is a standard right now in raid, except you're super early game and you can't meet that crit standard. You might need to go crit rate on the glove just to meet that 100% crit standard, or close. 80, 70 is a nice one. So crit damage that I'm adding here will help my crit damage of 100%, now do more damage with that crit damage. So other damage sets, you already know about them: Savage, Lethal, Merciless. Those are all optional if they are not already being used on your best champions. So if he's currently your best champion right now, give him all those damage sets and make him go crazy with that AoE slash that he slashes the enemy 3 times. He will most likely take some of them down in those end game damage sets. So for now, I'm saving my damage set, end game damage sets, for other more important champions, not an epic champion that are only using clan boss or dragon. So those are the artifact sets. Now, why did I build mine like this without an artifact set? I just went random. Is because, like I said, I don't intend to use this champion in any of those content that required lifesteal for clan boss. If you're going to use him in place of your frozen banshee, remember, in the clan boss in the early game, when you don't have unkillables, you will need lifesteal. If you don't have any champion doing leech to help you heal fast or something, you will need some lifesteal on this champion for him to have his hits and get back to his health back to full again. So that's something to consider for clan boss. Now for Hydra, I don't know if Hex will be a good idea. I don't know if lifesteal will be a good idea for Hydra, except in the early game, but usually we have revivers and healers, ally protectors, all that in the Hydra that will bring along in that early game. So he might also not be an option right there, but it's not a bad idea to put some self-sustaining sets on a champion like this, so it doesn't become a reliability for your reviver or healer champion. So that's all these damage sets and the supporting sets I can think about right now. So what artifact sets would you build on your Akemtum, or what do you currently have him with? Check out my total stats I have on this champion. Like I said, over 260. Speed is an overkill, it's not required. I just wanted to build him as fast as possible. 100% crit rate and 270 crit damage. I didn't even notice the crit damage. That tells me something, that this is not a very good damage dealer, because normally when you build somebody over 250 crit damage, when they hit, enemies should go down or at least half health. But I guess he was not ignoring defense from any sets. That's why we didn't see that happening in the wave clear when he was using his A2 especially. So check out the accuracy set, just enough for dungeon content. But if you want to do Synchronos, you might need maybe up to 300 if it's required up to that hard mode Synchronos content. So he will need attack because his damage is based on attack. That's why you see my defense is lower than the attack is higher, because his damage is based off attack. So remember that. But if you're building this champion for clan boss, remember they do need a minimum of 3,000 to 3,500 defense if you want them to survive a little bit longer and not get one-shotted easily or become a stun target and get their health low easily. So I went with defense, crit damage, attack because he's an attack damage dealer, and of course crit damage also, and accuracy. So I didn't even need accuracy banner because I had enough accuracy from my perception and substats. Normally you need accuracy banner right here to meet your accuracy requirement, but I already have enough accuracy coming in from all these other sets. Accuracy was almost everywhere, including here, that I did not even need to go to an accuracy banner. And of course my masteries, I mean my what do you call it now, affinity bonus is also helping me. All right, check out his masteries on this champion that I got on him. Triple hitters in raid that we normally use in Fire Knight or other content are usually built in Giant Slayer because this deals more damage against bosses in general, and that's why I have him in that. This masteries was recommended from Elhate's website. Check out elhate.com for other mastery recommendations that you can use on your Akemtum. Not just this one, there are other options right there on the website. So this is the one that I said was increasing the chance of placing debuffs. So that is A1, that it was a 50%. This is the mastery sniper that does increase the chance of placing that one extra poison to a 55% chance. So some players might just go towards this crazy, where is it, increase the chance of placing. I don't think this is necessary to make it up to a 60% chance of landing that poisons on an A1. No, you really want to go towards this Giant Slayer on a champion like this. So yeah, that's the mastery recommendations for Akemtum. Check out his blessing. I went to cruelty because he will be facing up against bosses a lot, not just wave content. So cruelty is the best one for him. He's fully booked, and yeah, no relic right now, and that's this Akemtum build. Am I missing out on anything else? Yeah, I was gonna try out the Hydra run, one Hydra battle, to see whether he can place the hex forever and never ever let it fall off. Do I have Hydra keys? I hope I do. I do. Which one? Let's just fight a hard battle. One sec, let me put it. Who do I just replace? Let me remove the hex champion since he's replacing her. Remove the hex champion and put in Akemtum. I hope we don't knock them too hard. I just want to see him use his... Wait, it went towards a quick battle? Damn. I wanted to see it happen in real life so I can see the hex placing. That's 200 on hard. Don't limit reach. Discard the results. I wanted to see it happen in real life and see. No quick battle. That's what I meant to do. I want to see him fight the battle for sure. You could do it on brutal, nightmare, maybe. Anywhere it works. Auto. Where is the hex? There's the hex I just want to see. Hex. Hex. Let's begin to nuke them. Did you just try to steal my counter attack? I usually turn off counter attack with team presets. Is he spreading any debuffs? I want to see the A1s to spread the debuffs. Because this is easy content, my champions will nuke them hard. I'm looking at the hex on these champions. We have X everywhere, they have not yet fallen off. What is Akemtum doing? A1 steal. Everything gets cleansed, and I got resisted. He put the hex back, right back after the cleansed or debuffs. No problem. He doesn't mind. He doesn't have a cleanse though. That's something Mitrala has over him, I guess. We're gonna get feared. We don't have any cleanse square. We've got one cleanse from Ugo, but that's not enough. He didn't get feared. He's doing some damage though, but not crazy damage like my enemy max HP nukers. No. So his main purpose in this team is just hex, because I'm not seeing like 4 or 5 poisons, crazy poisons anywhere. You agree with me that he's doing his job with the A2 well in Hydra content, but he's not doing a great job with the A1 over here. We're not seeing like 3, 4, 5 poisons like we're seeing on the dragon. That's one poison right there, because some of these heads cannot be poisoned, right? So now we're just seeing only one poison over there. Break the shield and stun. I'm not running all the way to the end. I just wanted to see what Akemtum is doing in this wave and see whether it's actually useful in Hydra or not. But I guess he will be more useful in content like Demon Lord than, for poison at least, than Hydra. But if you don't have a Mitrella or one of your teams is lacking a Hex champion, there you go. So take note, without the Hex you will not be able to do damage to that head, or you'll not be able to target that head that normally steals your buffs. So that's one thing that you might, Hex is kind of important for in Hydra, and also makes you do a little bit more damage, right? So when your champions get stolen and they cannot be targeted, it's very annoying when your Hex gets cleansed. So with him, you have it. And you do have masteries these days. I mean, you do have artifacts these days that even bring their own Hex. That's the cost. Is it cost set? Cost set, right? So free regroup. I'm not gonna save that. So these days, most players even build their Krisk, like I did for my Krisk, in a set like that that gives him all the Hex in the world. So cost set. So it's not really Hex is not that important these days if you don't have options. You might build some few champions in the Hydra in cost and you'll not need an Akemtum. So I guess he can be easily replaced in the Hydra. But at the same time, you've seen all what you can do with this champion. And let me know in the comments how you use him in raid. I don't use him in my account. I just wanted to put out this champion guide for newer players coming in raid thinking, is this champion good? Is this champion bad? It's going to be amazing for your dragon, for your ice golem team, for your demon lord plan boss team, for your Hydra teams when you need Hex. But that's about it. Or for synchronous stages in the end game where you need specific champions. Even for faction war, he's gonna be amazing and make it trivial, at least for that Skinwalkers faction, right? One of the damage dealers or one of the champions, you know, debuffing the enemies. See you guys in the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more daily raid content. If you want to tell me about a champion in the comments below, just put the name in there. I will take a closer look at them if I've not done so already and put out a champion guide like this for them. So this one is fully built, fully mastered, so it will take a little while to get all that done. But I have it added to the list of champions in raid that I have built and tested this channel right now. See you guys in the next one.